All right, so now for problem number 5. So continuing on page 10, and I'm just going to go over some of these with you guys. We're really doing domain, range, and end behavior. Now the end behavior is we're looking because sometimes we look at the graph and the graph stops at a certain point, but then we have to think, what does it look like as the graph goes on forever, right? And so there's a couple of things. When I say graph, I'm talking about the different colored line. So well, let me do the problem, and then I'll explain that in context. Okay. So problem number 5. Get out your calculators. Turn those bad boys on. Problem number 5 wants us to graph a function, and I'll write this down. So what they want us to do is first we're going to look at the graph, and the graph is in the book, but I want you to plug it into your calculator. F of x is equal to x squared plus 2. Okay? F of x. And basically, just like all of our other problems, they want us to do two things. They want us to basically figure out what is the domain, right? And so this is your homework problem number 5 on page 10 from your textbook. And they want us to figure out what the range is, okay? So we got to look at the graph. The easiest way to figure out domain and range is to look at the graph. So first, let's do the graph. So on your calculators, how do I graph something on the calculator? Do you guys remember? Y equals. Good. So you guys are learning. So we'll say y equals, SpaghettiOs, I got stuff in there. How do I get rid of that stuff? Is there a button I can hit that would maybe clear everything? Oh, clear button. Oh, man, you guys are smart. So that you hit the clear button, it clears it out. How do I plug in x squared? Well, first I hit x. Now, we hit x squared so much that Texas Instruments, the makers of these calculators, actually made a button. So if I hit this button, it just puts in the superscript 2. Or you can hit the caret symbol and enter in the 2. It doesn't matter. Plus 2, right? So I hit plus 2. Is that right? I want to talk to you about a couple of things. This blue box that you guys see right here, that just means that it's going to graph the graph in blue. So let's look at that. Also, we've been playing around with the windows because of our homework problems. So when I hit graph, go ahead and hit graph, everybody. Okay. Sometimes it'll change the window that you see. So go ahead and click on zoom. And see where it says standard? Yes. Okay, try this and see if it fixes it, okay? So click on the zoom button and see where it says Z standard. Now what Z standard says is it's going to set the windows for the X to be from -10 to 10. And it's going to set the Y's from -10 to 10. So if you come down here to option number 6, Z standard, it'll make it look like that. So do that and see if that fixed it. Yep. If you remember, I think it was yesterday or the day before. For you guys, it was the day before yesterday. The last, you know what I'm saying. The day. Remember we did that one problem where the domain was from -4 to 4, and we changed the window. That's why it looked different. It went from -4 to here. All right, so that's our graph. So now when I say graph, a lot of times I'm talking about the whole thing. I'm going to use a word called curve or line. So when I say curve, what am I referring to? The blue curve. Now, if we're doing a linear function, that graphs as a straight line, so I'll call it a line. It's a very subtle thing. But when I say graph, I'm talking about this whole thing. So if I say the word graph, I mean the whole thing in general. If I say curve, I'm talking about the curve. If I say line, that particular function is linear. This is a quadratic. So anyways, let me take a picture of this. And I do want you to sketch this on your paper, if you don't mind. And we're going to label a couple things. So it's symmetrical about the x-axis. I definitely want to label the axes. The x-axis is referring to the domain, so I'm going to put domain here. So that's x. This is the y-axis, right? Which is the same as f of x, right? And so we're going to talk about a couple of things. First of all, this point right here, I don't know if you guys remember, but that's what, does anybody remember the fancy word for that? Vertex, very good. That's called the vertex. And the vertex is located at 0, 2, right? And also remember that the x value it goes in alphabetical order. It's x, comma, y, right? So the blue line represents, remember that this blue curve, I said line, see how I corrected myself? This blue curve that we're looking at, this blue curve represents the relationship between the input values, which are x, and the output values, which are y. But the question that they're asking us is what's the domain and range? So what does domain stand for? Yes. All the possible x's. So remember that the x direction is left to right on the curve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the left on the curve. I know that this blue curve is going to go on forever, right off the screen. So what is the lowest value for x? Negative what? Negative infinity, right? That goes on forever. Infinity is not a number, so I can't include it. So there's going to be a less than symbol. Good. Now for the upper boundary, I'm going to go on forever this way, right? I'm going to go to the right. How far does that go? What number does it reach? Positive infinity. Now I notice that your textbook writes it this way sometimes. It's okay. You don't have to put the positive symbol, but I didn't want you to be confused. I give you the odd problems so you can look them up in the back of the book. If I write infinity and the textbook says positive infinity, they mean the same thing. Okay. How do I write that in interval notation? First of all, do I use a bracket or parentheses? Parentheses. How come? There's no equal sign. Good. See, you guys are learning, right? Or maybe you knew it. I don't know. I just want to think of myself as an amazing teacher. Then it goes from negative infinity, which is my lower boundary, positive infinity, which is my upper boundary, parentheses or bracket. Parentheses. How come? There's no equal sign. See how that gets? Remember the first problem I did, you guys were like, what? The second problem I did, you guys were like, what? And we just got to keep doing it till you get it. Okay? It's a lot of stuff to take in. Let's do the range. Okay? Now the range are the y values, the up and down. Again, I need to know the lowest value for y. By the way, we know the vertex. What happens at the vertex? It's either a minimum or a maximum. So what is that? Is that a minimum or a maximum? Do you guys remember that? It's a minimum, right? So this is a minimum because it opens up. In other words, the lowest y value occurs at the vertex, which is 2. So how can I word this? Well, there's two ways we could do this. We could say 2 is less than y. Do we include the 2? Yep. So I put my little equal sign there. And then now we think about the greatest value for y. So if I go up, if I follow the blue curve in the up direction, what's the greatest value for y? Positive infinity. So I'll just write infinity, right? Now there's another way that I could write that. It's a little easier. How do I write that? I can't hear you, but I think the right way to another way you could write it is it's greater than 2, right? So if I say y is greater than or equal to 2, that's basically saying the same thing, correct? Yes. How do we know if it has an equal to? Oh, that's a good question. So if we include the number, if the number occurs on the graph, in most cases we include it. But if there was an open circle, we wouldn't include it. So most of the time, if we're including the number, in other words, the point occurs on the graph, because this point is on the graph, 2 is included, and because it's included, we say equals 2. If I had this graph and it had an open circle at that point, it wouldn't have the equals symbol. The other thing is for infinity and negative infinity, because it's not really a number, it's a concept, we don't say equals. We can't include infinity or negative infinity because they're not actually numbers. It's a concept. We're just saying it goes on forever. It goes on forever in the negative direction, goes on forever in the positive direction. Okay? All right. So now we could, for the interval notation, you got to kind of think of this, right? What is our lower boundary? Well, first of all, let's start here. Bracket or parentheses? Bracket. Why? Because of the equal sign. See how that kind of rolls off the tongue there? Comma. Now, what's the upper boundary? Positive infinity, right? And bracket or parentheses? Parentheses. Infinity is not a number. We can't include it, but it represents